Right now, in the year 2020, a pandemic of global proportion is sweeping across the world. The effects and ramifications of this are, as of yet, still largely unknown. Where did it come from? What is the cure? And how far will the now escalating economic consequences spread? There is a lot we don't know, but that's not what I want to focus on for today. Today, I want to discuss the Great American Toilet Paper Famine of 2020 and deconstruct this enigmatic yet historic event in a lighthearted but very sincere way. You hear that, YouTube? I'm not going to even mention the name of the disease. Please don't demonetize me. I will literally only be talking about toilet paper for this entire video. So let's get started. In January of 2020, a new disease gained national media attention. Still small and only just beginning to spread, it was located primarily in China. However, this would not last very long. Over the coming months into early March, the disease began to infect other countries and eventually became an officially recognized global pandemic as per WHO, otherwise known as the World Health Organization. This marked the true start of the Great Toilet Paper Famine. Now, many people may immediately wonder, why do I even want to make a video on this? It's just a meme, a temporary snapshot of time in which toilet paper shelves lay barren and people posted photographs of them on social media. You've probably all seen the pictures. First in major cities, but then even small rural towns, images surfaced of totally barren aisles where no toilet paper was left, none at all. The reason I want to archive my thoughts on this shortage for as long as YouTube will exist is because it is entirely without justification or purpose. One might say the justification is a global pandemic, which would seem true on a surface level, but when looking deeper, it becomes clear that toilet paper is a deranged and unnecessary casualty of consumer panic to a point where all reason and logic have been completely abandoned, as the populace rushes to stockpile the seemingly valuable resource at almost every store in the entire country. What makes this even more interesting is that very few other products are falling prey to the same sort of obsession. Certainly, there are more customers purchasing canned goods, non-perishables, or frozen meat and vegetables than before, but those items pale in comparison to the perceived value of toilet paper. I've seen plenty of evidence, both anecdotal and researched, that there are other empty shelves in supermarkets or grocery stores right now, such as soap, hand sanitizer, and other medical equipment like masks. But for the most part, beyond all other comparisons, toilet paper is valued above all else. Instantly sold out and chased down, even fought over, as the relative levels of consumer panic increase by the day. So why is this true? The answer is incredibly complicated, but the bottom line is that it flat out shouldn't be. If you take a look at the adjacent shelves of most supermarkets, you can see in many circumstances that paper towels, wet wipes, baby wipes, and many other possible substitutes for traditional toilet paper are relatively unscathed. The practicality of toilet paper has almost nothing to do with why it is being hoarded and sought after, and everything to do with flat out idiocy. Let's approach this from a rational and analytical perspective. Consumers believe that they may be asked to self-quarantine, or worse, be flat out mandated to stay in their homes for long periods of time. How long could that be? Well, estimates range from a few weeks to a couple of months. With a reasonable range in flexibility, 3 months is towards the upper limit of what I have seen projected by disease and economic experts. The data is still sketchy at best, but from initial contraction to full recovery, cases are not exceeding 3 to 4 months at an absolute maximum. Plus, the economic and supply chain ramifications, business implications, and earnings loss that occur from prolonged quarantine or isolation that disrupt normal day-to-day life become increasingly damaging the longer they are active. Bottom line, countries are locking down to prevent the spread, but that lockdown is not a sustained mode of living. It is, and must be, very temporary. Well, everybody uses the bathroom. It is a human biological imperative, and having enough toilet paper is indeed a very important hygienic aspect of modern life in many cultures and nations, such as the United States. Because of this, it is a very good idea to have a few months' supply in the face of this epidemic. Score 1 point for the hoarders, I guess. However, what is the actual rate of usage for a single person, and how does that relate to average supply quantities? Effectively, according to most estimates I see, while also maintaining an adequate degree of skepticism and flexibility, average consumption of toilet paper for one individual person stands at about 100 rolls per year or 20,000 sheets. This could be higher or lower depending on the quality of the brand, personal habits, and even male or female consumer gender, because there is a rather large discrepancy between the two. But using averages, which is the only possible way to get a ballpark estimate that's any sort of reliable, an individual buying a standard 12-roll pack of toilet paper will be able to get through about a month and a half. Assuming they actually treat this commodity with the value apparently placed upon it to warrant desperate and panicked mass purchase, in actual dire circumstances it would probably last far longer than that, and could be stretched for 2 months plus easily, but just assuming a basic average, about a month and a half for those 12 rolls. However, in a few more detailed summaries I found, certain accounts dictate a usage of less than 50 rolls per year. One writer, who primarily uses Scott's 1000, which is a standard 1000 sheet roll of Scott's brand toilet paper, the largest manufacturer of toilet paper in the entire world, but we'll circle back to that later on. One writer described using 49 rolls in the year, which far surpassed the previous estimate of 20,000 sheets per year in one metric, but in overall roll usage, it came in at half. If we divide the same way by a 50 roll per year measurement, that 12 pack of toilet paper you walked out of the supermarket with will last you multiple months, in the vicinity of 3, without even attempting to conserve it. What is the actual usage for each individual? Impossible to know, but the takeaway is that using Scott's 1000 and purchasing standard 12 roll packs, you can walk out of the supermarket prepped for your entire speculative maximum quarantine, no problem. Why then are people hoarding so much toilet paper? The first explanation I've heard is that sickness can cause digestion problems or bowel issues, which is true in many circumstances, but not for the current global pandemic that is actually causing the shortage and panic buying. As of official WHO data, diarrhea as a result of the current disease outbreak is exceedingly rare, which removes that as the primary concern relevant enough to legitimately cause a shortage. The next claim I have heard, and far more frequently, is that toilet paper manufacturing is primarily located in China, and thus with a severe disruption to Chinese economics and exporting potential having already occurred, which is definitely true, we are poised to see a shortage of the resource anyways, and thus panic buying ensues. This does make a lot of sense. There certainly is a disruption of exporting industries coming out of China, and even if there was a very low chance of complications requiring toilet paper from the virus, if you can't get more for quite some time, best to buy it all now. A great example of this phenomenon in effect would be Apple, recently shutting down retail stores across the globe in response to the virus, or Hyundai as another example, which closed down manufacturing plants when the necessary parts from China became temporarily unavailable. That's a perfect comparison. However, yet again, this turns out to be false. The largest toilet paper manufacturing brand in the world is Scott's, followed closely by Georgia-Pacific. Georgia-Pacific manufactures toilet paper brands such as Angel Soft, Northern Quilted, and Soft and Gentle, out of over 180 factories located in 30 states across the country. The United States does not locally manufacture all that many things. Pharmaceuticals, electronics, vehicles, and many more are among the top imported items. We don't make most of them here. But one of the few things we do manufacture right here in the States is, go figure, toilet paper. Not only is Georgia-Pacific here, but Scott's, the largest toilet paper manufacturing company on the planet, is headquartered in Philadelphia, with many factories around the country. It does have business across the globe, but the United States imports less than 10% of its toilet paper products from foreign countries. And of that 10%, most of it is from Mexico. With Scott's being the largest producer and Scott's 1000 being responsible for the metric of 49 rolls per year, those carts you see leaving the supermarket with multiple 36 roll cases, they are now equipped to handle a quarantine for over a year and a half. Probably upwards of 2 years if they use it sparingly. By contrast, the amount of food required for that period of time, as per 2011 studies, can be almost 2,000 pounds. To match that quantity of toilet paper, the moron at the store buying 72 rolls will need nearly 4,000 pounds of food. The entire enigmatic phenomenon, hysterical mass buying of toilet paper, is a farce. Georgia-Pacific, as an example, also supplies toilet paper to hotel chains, so as the demand continues to grow, albeit from a place of utter and complete idiocy, they could quite possibly reroute their business and shipments to compensate for it. During quarantine, consumers will not be traveling to hotels or using the amenities there. Thus, an excess in one area fills the void in another. But why would they even want to? Since the average American hysterically buying toilet paper like a brain-dead zombie is incapable of using that amount for a period of even multiple years, why would any major manufacturing company feed into that? It might seem good for an immediate quarterly earnings boost, yes, kind of true, but what happens when there is a catastrophic glut in the market where consumers don't need to buy more? Toilet paper doesn't really expire, so the morons buying 72 rolls now will be using them till they are gone, or at worst, reselling them to other morons desperate for the rolls who are willing to pay a premium. The increase in demand now is simply front-loading a severe disruption to demand later, and major companies know this. On the topic of reselling, some peer-to-peer marketplaces are now seeing toilet paper sales skyrocket to prices so far above reasonable it is practically comedic. Price gouging is beginning to take place, as it always does, when demand exceeds current production and availability. But unlike most other instances, the demand for toilet paper is built in upon itself like a black hole. The whole concept makes no sense. It's built upon nothing. Not the virus, not the symptoms, not even the manufacturing. The quantities people are buying will not only be useless to them during the viral time period, they will cause market harm to the very industry they are so desperately chasing products from. The whole thing is not built upon need, it is built upon fear. And the real reason why the Great Toilet Paper Famine of 2020 came to be is paradoxical. It exists because it exists. People are hysterically buying because others are hysterically buying. There is no quantifiable reason for the shelves to be empty other than the fear of them being empty leading to them becoming empty, as people race to get a product before others who are racing to get a product before them because of nothing. Not because of need, not because of utility, because of pure, unmitigated idiocy. That's it for today. If you want to support, there are links down below. This video is also brought to you by hardware from Axial GT. Please subscribe and support him if you're interested in gaming news. There's also a channel Patreon, Twitter, merchandise, and some other things down below, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.